Hola mis magos, ¿cómo están ustedes? Remember, that means how are you? Yo estoy muy bien. I'm really excited to be here, and we're going to take all of the things that we've been learning about our design elements, and we're going to put it in our next project, and it's going to take us about 2 weeks. First, what I wanted to show you and share with you is my Be Kind shirt, because our school motto is to be kind, and so I thought this was a really cool shirt because it's also in sign language too. So I wanted to share that with you. But what we're going to be talking about is perspective and what that means and how it impacts our art and how it can make our art even more realistic and more interesting. So, and if you can tell by the little Senora Wait Bitmoji, we are going to be doing something with pumpkins. Lots of pumpkins. So this is what it's going to look like when we're all done, something like this. So you can see that there's a lot of pumpkins and there's a sky, and when you look right here, this is our here, that the pumpkins are bigger, and then you go kind of towards the middle, that's our near, and they get a little smaller and there's a little bit less detail. And then our far is really tiny pumpkins, right? And you can't even hardly see. I mean, maybe there's some stems sticking up and you can't really see the lines or the details on them. That's because they're really far away. And when you look at something outside and it's really far away, it looks really teeny tiny. So that's our here, near, and far. And that's what we're going to be learning about our perspective. So the materials that we're going to need for the next 2 weeks are similar to what we used for the past 2 weeks. You're going to need a sketchbook and a pencil with an eraser, and then a ruler or a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, you can use anything that has a straight edge on it. You're like, well, Senora, wait, what do you mean by that? Well, if you have lots of boxes around, this is a nice straight edge, and you could use that to lay on your paper and help you draw your line. So that would work. Or if you have a book, you could just use the book. The book has a nice straight edge that you could lay down on your paper and help you to draw your line. By the way, this book is really silly. And then even if you have just your notebook, like another notebook, you could use that and just set that down because that has the cardboard backing in it. That could be a straight edge too. So if you don't have a ruler, that's okay. Next, if you got watercolors, that's awesome. We're going to use them again next week. If you don't have watercolors, colored pencils are probably your next best thing because they let you draw really hard, which is really dark, and then lighten up, which makes it a lighter color. And then you can kind of blend those colors, which we'll do that next week. If you don't have it, crayons are still fine. And if markers will work too. Next, if you do have watercolors, you'll need watercolor paper or sketchbook paper because that's thicker. If you have watercolors, but you don't have that paper, you could use cardboard even to draw this on because the cardboard's thicker. It won't make your colors show up as bright, but it's a fall picture, so it should still work because of the oranges and the browns, and then we'll go over it with a black marker, like a Sharpie, at the very end. That's the very last thing we're going to do, and that's going to add all our details at the very end. So these are the things that we need for the next 2 weeks, okay? This week, all you need is your pencil, your sketchbook, and your ruler or your straight edge. So I have a really funny video that tells us a little bit more about near, here, and far. I don't know if you've watched Sesame Street before, but it's a little throwback to when we were younger, and it's still really funny.
There, this is your old pal Grover, and today I'm going to talk to you about near and far. In fact, I, little furry Grover, am going to show you near and far. Okay, here goes. First, this is near. Right here, near. is far. This is near. You see? Huh? Oh, okay, I'll do it once more for you, okay? Okay. This is near. This is far. And this is near again. Okay? You want to see it one more time? Oh, sure, I'm not doing anything. Okay, this is near. This is far. This is near. You got that, huh? You don't have that. Okay, this is near.
You see how little Grover gets as he runs away
Far.
when he's far, and when he gets closer to us,
This is
he's a lot
near.
bigger.
Now you must understand. You don't understand. This is far. I'll get there. Hold on.
He's getting bigger. He's getting bigger.
This is
Really
near.
big because he's near.
And now you understand.
And see how he gets smaller? When he's far.
And this is near.
Big.
You understand?
Because he's near.
Ah!
So hopefully Grover helped us understand that things that are near are a lot bigger and things that are far are a lot smaller. And that is called perspective in art. And that's what we're going to use to make our pumpkin patch. So just some more examples of what Grover was trying to tell us is this pumpkin patch right here. These pumpkins are really big because they're near. And then these pumpkins back here are really small because they're far. So that's the same idea that we're going to use. See, pretend if this was a piece of paper. Look, these pumpkins take up like half the page. We're not going to do quite that because those are really near. But they are a lot bigger. Pretend that's paper. Goodness, look at how far that goes on the paper. Takes up almost all of it. All right, and then this right here, this is your horizon line. Everybody say horizon line. Horizon. Yep, and we're going to need one of those because what that does is it separates our sky from our ground. So that's really important too, and we'll learn how to do that. So here's another picture that shows us one of our design elements that we've learned so far. And I want you to try to tell me which one, well, it shows us a lot of our design elements, but what design element do you really notice first? I heard somebody say shape. Yep, shape of the pumpkins. And then the different shapes, how they're real big in the front. Remember, this is near, so these are really big. And then as we get to far, they get a lot smaller and you can't see the detail anymore. So here's our horizon line back there, separating our trees and sky from our pumpkin patch. And those are our lines. And then I also thought I heard someone say texture. This one has a lot of texture. This one has a lot of texture. You can see that it looks bumpy, right? So I want you to remember, use those ideas when we're drawing our project out. Also, you can see the lines in the pumpkin when they're up close. You can see the lines when they're just near. But as they get far away, notice you can't really see the lines in the pumpkins that well anymore. You can't really even see some of the stems. Like you can see this stem and that stem, but you can't see this stem or this stem back here. So the details of the pumpkin kind of go away as they get farther away. So think about that too. So what do you have to do? What do you have to attach in Seesaw this week? what I want you to do is attach a picture of your perspective pencil drawing so far. And how we're going to do that, how we're going to get to this point, I will practice with you. So let's make Senora Wait a little bigger. There we go. So first of all, you're going to lay your paper out horizontally or landscape. A landscape is when the paper is wider than it is taller. And that's because you want to see more of all the trees and all the different things when you look out. That's called landscape. Everybody say landscape. All right, everybody say horizontal. Muy bien. Very good. So once you have your paper in landscape, you're going to draw your horizon line. Remember, you're drawing in pencil. I'm going to draw in pencil first, but then I'm going to go over in Sharpie only so you can see. You're using pencil. You can get your ruler or your straight edge, whatever that may be. So I'm going to use my book so I can show you that you can use a book. So we have our paper, landscape or horizontal. We have to try to figure out where the horizon line is. Usually when you're doing a landscape, it's about somewhere in the middle. And then you go up just a little bit. So everybody find the middle. Right? Not like right there. If you want to go right there, you can go right there too. But I like to do it off to the edge. It's up to you. And then just go up a little bit. Now you're going to take your ruler or your straight edge and just place it right where you had your finger or your pencil. And you don't want to have it like this. You don't want to have it like that. You want to have it nice and straight so that this line matches this line. That's called parallel. Everybody say parallel. All right, real good. Once you got it really straight and it matches, go ahead and draw your line right across. Remember, in pencil. So it's hard for you to see it, so I'm going to switch over to my Sharpie, but remember, you stay in pencil. So there's our horizon line. This is our sky. This is our pumpkin patch. Now, the next thing that you need to do is think about the near, or here, near, and far. When things are right here, they're really big. You can see all the details of my fingers and my ring and even my scratch. That's because they're right here. When they get to about near or in the middle, you can't really see as much as that detail, but you can see more of my hand. And then when things get really far away, you can't even really see my scratch anymore. You can't really see the details anymore. So think about that. Just like we were looking at our pumpkins, I want you to do the same thing. The pumpkins that are going to be right here are going to be what? Big, medium, or small? They're going to be big, right? So let's draw some big pumpkins. And I like having twisty stems on mine. Okay, and we can see the details. We can see the lines on the pumpkin, right? So we're going to put some lines on the pumpkin. They're going to curve around and make that same shape as our pumpkin made. So our lines are going to follow it. And then you're just going to kind of do the same thing. They don't have to be nice and neat in a row, but they do all have to be big in that first row. So maybe I want a bumpy pumpkin this time. One that has texture, right? He's still a pumpkin. He's bumpy. Bumpy pumpkin. All right, and he still has lines. Those are the ridges that you see. All right, and we can still see his stem. Okay, so there's a pumpkin with texture, right? This is a smooth texture. This is a bumpy texture. Let me draw some more. Nice and big. Don't take up too much of your paper. You don't want them to reach all the way to the horizon line. Now, when we start getting them further away, they have to be what? Bigger or smaller? Smaller, that's right. So we're going to draw the next row not quite as big. Let me just kind of overlap back there. So you can't see all of them, right? Because the other pumpkins are blocking them. And then maybe you can see some of the stems, okay? But maybe you can't see all of them. Maybe you can see some of this texture, some of these lines, but you can't see all of it. And then we're just going to repeat as we get further and further away, but you're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? So like if you're real close to the line, be really tiny pumpkins, okay? Really, really tiny pumpkins. And maybe we got some smaller ones here. Maybe this one's real close to that one. Okay? So you fill your whole page with pumpkins. And then as they get closer to the horizon line, they get tinier and tinier. Okay? And remember, when they're real close to you, you can see lots of detail. So you should see lots of detail in these pumpkins. These might just end up looking like orange circles later because they're really far away and we can't see them. And now we need to add something else. We need a tree that is near. So is the tree going to be big or small? Big, because it's near. It's going to be like right here, okay? So it's going to be big. So again, with your pencil, decide which part that you want your tree to go over. I didn't really finish this pumpkin that much because he's off to the edge, so I'm going to choose my tree to go here because I'm going to cover up all that. So then you draw your tree really big, okay? Really big. Give it some branches. So then my tree is really big and it takes up all the space. Now, you're using pencil, so you can erase any pumpkins that you have in here so that your tree sticks out right up front, just like right here. All the tree or the pencil pumpkins are erased right here. Okay? That's real big. And then I want you to also draw a moon. You can draw a full moon or you can draw a crescent moon. Right here we have a crescent moon, and I think I'm going to do a crescent moon too. So there's a little crescent moon in the sky, and it's going to be a nighttime sky, nighttime pumpkin patch, okay? So maybe you want to draw another tree and you want to put it on the horizon line. If you do, it has to be small if you draw it on the horizon line. So draw a nice little small tree. Remember, in pencil. So if it's on the horizon line, it's really teeny. If it's right in front down at the bottom of the paper, it's really, really big, going to take up the whole space, okay? And that's week 1. You're just drawing with pencil and adding your texture, adding your lines, adding your shapes. And then next week, we are going to get into color. So what are you going to attach in Seesaw? You are going to attach a picture, use the photo button to take a picture of your finished pencil drawing of your nighttime pumpkin patch. And that's the first week. Next week, we'll get into color. All right, mis magos, I hope you enjoy. Adios.